Yes, let's go. It's another Friday. Yeah, what's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to another episode of Demystify Tech. As always, every Friday, I come your way with goodness of technology. And this week is part three of our ongoing series on the Microsoft Bot Framework Composer tool, which is awesome. Awesome. If you're just joining us, we're building a bot that's going to tell us cool stuff, gossip about COVID, all the cool stuff for Ghana. If you've missed the other episodes, just go back and check my previous videos on this episode, on this series, sorry, and then you would have an awesome time. Well, before we get into it and get all groomy and get all groovy and get all fancy and get all active, let's go check out our montage and we will be right back. Awesome. Yes, the modding developers journey start right on this show. I'm yours truly, Samuel Journey, again bringing you goodness on technology. Well, if you're just joining us, for the past 3 weeks, we have been building or working using the Microsoft Bot Framework Composer. Awesome, awesome, sweet kit. If you're, in that, well, I wouldn't say no code, low code, but if you're kind of like a citizen developer or if you're between a hybrid between citizen and pro code, this tool is actually good and cool for you to try out. So we've been building a bot for the past couple of weeks. We started with creating a very basic bot where we moved into, assigning and using dialogues. In today's episode, we're going to take a look at how to use prompts to receive user input and then create attributes. And then we're going to use that information to call a weather API. So technically, getting input from the user, calling a weather API with that data, and returning the response in our bot. Now, this gives you a way to call external APIs that you want to interact with to make even your bot more cool and more, useful. Also, if there is time, we're going to go ahead and we're going to try to use, we'll show how to create cancel and help dialogues or intent, so to speak. And then I'll actually show you how to interrupt. Now, many bots I have seen on the market are so not cool. They're not cool. They are not able to handle interruptions. Like you are probably in a particular flow and you want something else. Most bots on the market cannot do that for you. So I'm going to show you how easy, how cool, how fun it is to build using the Microsoft Bot Framework. Well, let's just get right into it. So I'm going to go ahead here. And if you're joining me from Facebook, from Twitter, from anywhere you're joining me, just say a hi. It's Friday. Just shout out, say a hi to me, and I'll say a hi back. All right. So let's open a to-do list. Well, as always, before we get into that, before I get too ahead of myself, let me show you and let me tell you what's happening in the world of tech that you can take advantage of, right? Before we start to have fun. So, where is that for us? Let's take this here. Let's open our cool tool and get all the information, all the juices, all the cool stuff. Don't forget that you can always ask your questions in any of the channels that you're watching us from, and I will be willing and ready to mention. Oh, hey, Nee, all the way from wherever you are, because we're keeping it top secret, joining us from Facebook. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you have your pen and paper ready to learn stuff. So, yeah. Okay, let's go. So, let's get started. And we have George Cujo. Good evening, George. Also joining us from Facebook. If you have any questions, put it right here. All right, let's get into it. So first on the list, let me actually um let me zoom this. Yep, 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 yep. There you go. Actually, this deserves a round of applause. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to give it an applause. Yeah, it does. So this it started last week. It started last week. It's the Microsoft Certified Trainers West Africa or MCT West Africa Cloud Bootcamp 2020. Yeah, it is. And this actually is, I would say, is just convention of great African technologists across all the Microsoft ecosystem, from Azure to Microsoft 365 to .NET to Power Platform or everything. Now it's happening for the next 8 Saturdays, actually 7, because last week was the first one. So the next 7 Saturdays is going to happen. There are actually two tracks. and all of the tracks have different topics and sessions. It starts at 12 p.m., which is West African time, which is GMT plus one. So if you're in Nigeria, that's West African time. If you're in Ghana, it is GMT, your time plus one. Starts at 12 and ends at 4. So in the case of Ghana, it would be 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And these are, exciting lineup of people joining us. Connect, the sessions are there. Connect, and let's have fun. So this is track one. We have Foyin there. We have Ezekiel, Emeka, Larry, Idara, and then for track two, yes, we have our own. Let's give it up for Mesa Hinkra. Yeah. Don't mind me, I'm just goofing around. So for track two, we have Michael Ikuya Hinkra. We have Disu, we have Paul. So I can see things on Azure Dynamics and all that happening for track two. So make a deal with them tomorrow, join, and then have some fun, doing that. Awesome. So let's go to the next one. Where is that? Drum roll, drum roll, drum roll. Okay. So for our next, I think this actually deserves a bigger round of applause. Yes, a very, very big round of applause. Yes, so Microsoft Ignite is coming 24th, 25th of this month, and yes, yours truly, I am actually speaking. I'm actually part of a community discussion on meeting the Power Platform community. So make a date with me. If you're not subscribed to Ignite, go right now and subscribe to Ignite because I'll be talking as part of a panelist for the Power Platform community. Go do that now. All right, go do that now. And then last on our list, this is coming from our friends at NIT Open Labs. If you're interested in becoming a full stack developer, join the Hack Lab community at the NIT Career Fair. This is actually happening. Oh, it has started today, and then so the first session was today, and then the second session is going to be on the 18th. There are two sessions actually, yeah. So go to the bit.ly showing on the screen, NIT info session, register, go learn about how to become, a cool software engineer or developer in the ecosystem. So that brings us to the end of the public service announcement. So if you have any event which is in the tech space, anything, and you want me to talk about or share in my show, please let me know. I'll do sure to share. Now, also, the Microsoft M365 bootcamp, developer bootcamp is happening. The Accra.net and the Power Platform User Group are also organizing it. It's happening on the 31st of October. I'll be bringing you more details on that as the days go by. So stick and stay with us. Now, let's bring our to do, and then let's go quickly and see. So, as of now, this is what we've done. We've checked two things. So today we're going to see how to use prompt and handle interactions and canceling. So we're going to try to do this too in today's episode. All right. So let's keep this down here whilst we start. So as always, make sure you have your bot. Oh, Don Wise, my own cousin joins us. Welcome, Wize, all the way from Ashiyama, Asheville to be precise. Welcome. Thank you for that feedback. Awesome. So let's go ahead and open our bot framework. Sorry, bot framework composer. Why do I keep saying that? So let's open our Kofi Ghana bot, and I'm just going to go ahead and set it up so that welcome. So we get to see what we've done so far. All right. So if I start this bot and then make sure I have my. So what's happening is that if I show you up here, you should see that now at this point, all right. So at this particular point here, it's showing reloading. All right. So once this is done, we can go and load the bot in the bot framework. All right. Cool. So let's get out of here, and then let's come here. So it's done. So we can go to test in emulator and copy the URL, right? And then open our bot emulator, open the bot and paste that URL there and then connect. This establishes a connection between the composer and the bot emulator so we can actually see. Let me actually zoom this so we can see that. So realize that by default, per our greeting, it starts and says, let me make this a bit bigger. We'll not worry about the logs for now. So let me just push them here. And let's make actually Let's make our env a bit bigger. We'll talk about logs later on, right? So right now I realize that the easy thing is doing is once you start, it just says, you know, I'm Kofi Ghana. I have the latest in news, gossip, COVID, and much more. What can I help you with? So if you were following with us last week, we started creating dialogues and triggers for weather. So to right now, if we just said what the weather is, if we just anything with a variation of weather, um, tell me about the weather. All right. See, it goes and says right on. And we used templating last time to show if we should ask this question again, or probably say weather. All right. All right, let's do this. So our bot is no longer our bot is not you know boring as some bots are. So currently that's what we have. So let's just minimize this. And you can see that we have a main dialog, which is the entry dialog, and then we have two other dialogues for get COVID and then get weather. All right. Now the main dialog, as you can see, we have three triggers: the welcome trigger, the weather trigger, and the COVID trigger. All right. Now currently we want to get the weather. That's what we're going to work with. So the idea is that the person we're going to further prompt the person, to give us for the purpose of the API we are using. It's actually based on US cities. So what I'm going to do is that I'll give you a homework. You can use any other weather service, and instead of the zip code, you can change that to pass the city, and go learn how you can pass the city to any API to gather information. So we're going to start with just the very basics. All right. So just going to go ahead and then let's select the weather dialog. This is where we want to have the interaction. So far, when you start, it says, so you can see these are the three templates. All right, that we are using that actually tell us that actually is telling us what the bot is supposed to respond. All right, and don't forget, if you're watching, please make sure you can bring your questions about bots, anything about bot, digital assistants, virtual assistants, and I'll be glad to answer them as we go on. If you also want to follow along, you can join me, and then I can share the link, and then you can have fun. All right, so the next thing is now we've told the bot, oh, we intend to query or have information about the weather. What's the next thing to do? The next thing to do is we need to tell the bot something. So we're going to go ahead and say, how about we add, sure, let's do it. So let's update this a bit. I'll say sure, sure, let's check the weather. Okay, I'm now going to go ahead and then add here just below it. Let's go zoom in so we can see this. The only thing is that I can't zoom and do at the same time, unfortunately. So here, I'm going to click here, which is adding another step. Okay, so let's go ahead and click this. And then this time, I'm going to use what? Ask a question. All right. Now, as you can see, I can do control 1 here, and you can see the options. So when you click on ask a question, you can actually ask a question that returns like a text or something that you're expecting a number. It could be a confirmation yes or no. It could be a multiple choice. All right. It could be a file attachment. It could be a date time, or actually you could actually enable the person to do an OAuth logging. So kind of like initiate a login flow from right here. Okay. In our case, the question we're going to ask is we're expecting a text result. We want a zip code. All right. So we can use a number. So we can use a text. Now, if you're expecting things like a number or confirmation, you can use any of this. So today we're only touching on ask question. All right. So let's go ahead. I'll click on text, and then something I want you to pay attention to. So on the right side of this, you have these three sections on the right. Now, bot ask refers to the prompt. All right, that the bot will ask the person. And here as well, you can use the templating and be very creative about it. It doesn't have to be boring. Now, one thing you need to understand is that once we convert to Lewis later on in the episode, what will happen is that you can just provide about 5 or 6 prompts, and then Lewis will be smart enough to know that if anybody generates any, the bot can say things along those lines. All right, we're going to see how to do that. Now, so the bot ask is the prompt the bot will ask you when the prompt is initiated. Then the user input here, this actually enables you to assign like variables or properties to the inputs the person has provided. all right, and saves that for future usage. So in the future, you don't necessarily need to ask the same question again. Like for instance, if you started a bot and you asked the bot maybe for their date of birth and the bot gave it to you, and subsequently you needed the date of birth again, you don't need to ask again. All right, you store them in this input properties, and then you can use them over and over again in during the session of the bot. Now the other, that is for the user input. Now for the other, now what happens is that this is where it enables you to do validation on the input and the response should the person provide an invalid an input. All right, that's where you can handle that from. So let's go ahead and add that. So in the bot ask, I'm going to say something like let's say is your what is your zip code, question mark. We can be creative and say um um please provide your zip code. All right, and I can go ahead and say um um say zip code. I mean just zip code, please. All right, and then we can say um which zip code uh are we looking for or looking at? Oh, okay, so let's say which zip code are we checking the weather for? Right? Question mark. So what I have done here is just basically all I have done is just basically to provide a bunch of prompts, all right, that the bot can cycle through and act. So again, our bot is not dumb. All right. So before I go there now, let's go all the way to the user input like I specified here, and then let me actually zoom in here so we can have a good look at it. Okay. So now you realize that now it's asking. So these are the properties. So the property, which obviously, like I mentioned, this is where you're going to name. You're going to name the property. So in this case, I can say this is user.zip code or user.anything. You can follow any naming conventions you want. All right. You can follow any naming conventions you want, and nobody, is going to penalize you for that. The other thing I want you to take note of is this drop down. Okay. Whatever property you are providing, you have the option to select the type of property it is. All right. The same thing for the output and then the value. So if I want to show you this, let's click here and then let's go back here. So you see that this is telling us, is it a string, all right, or it is an expression? The thing I am passing here, is it a string or it's an expression? Is that okay? So between a string will just be providing, an expression means you can use any of the pre-built functions. So there are functions that you can use that have like it's actually derived from the adaptive expressions. So you can use any of those expressions. So let's go ahead. Let's see in our case. So we are going to call this user dot zip code. All right. So that's how. Let's make sure we are getting it correct. Else, yeah, code. All right. So I'm calling this property user dot zip code. So down the line in our bot development, if I need zip code for any other thing, I can just reference user dot zip code and get access to it. Okay. Now, there's something I want to do. So here, I'm just going to give you an example of what an expression is. So here, an expression will be running a function. So here, I'll do equals, and I'll call the trim function. Okay. And then because we are currently in a property of user.zip code, I can go ahead and use something called this.value. Where is that? Yep, and then close the brackets. Okay, and change this to an expression. All right. So let's say this is equal to trim. And as you can see, one thing to also know is that you see that already we are having Intellisense. All right. This is a cool update. I mean, awesome. So the last time this was but see, there's a cool update here where let's actually, no, I don't need this. Let's actually go back here. So because I changed it to expression, It's even giving me intelligence on the functions I can use. You see that string, trim, dialog, because I started typing TRI. All right. Now, what I want to do is that I want to just trim so that whatever the person inputs, whether if there are spaces in front and spaces at the back and spaces in front, it will trim them so we don't have any spaces and unneeded characters. All right. This is just making our bot much more resilient. So I'll just go ahead and say trim. And then if I open this up, and then I can use now this. You see that this dot value, this dot count, this dot option. So this dot value tells us the current property we are in. All right. So I'll go for this dot value. This is cool intelligence and auto completion. All right. Now with that said, we're not going to use any value. All right. We're not going to use any value here. And then let's go ahead and go to the other tab. So these are like an expected response. We'll come back to this later in another episode. But today let's take focus and I explain that when we get there. So if I do this, if I restart the bot, it's just going to rebuild. Now you realize that when we started, we talked about recognizers. All right. And then let's go to the weather. Once this is done, I'll go to the weather. Okay. And then you see that we're using a default recognizer of what? Now, by right now, the default recognizer is actually using Lewis. All right. However, we started with regular expressions. I'm going to go back to regular expressions for the sake of a reason, because we'll come back to Lewis at a later time. Right. So let's restart this, and this is going to affect my other triggers. So I need to go back and check that. And actually, there's also this can be called an orchestrator, which allows you to do a couple of crazy things. There's a lot of cool stuff coming up in that era. So when I click this, as you can see, bot ask user input. There you go. Trim. There's user the zip code. Now other, we mentioned that other here. This is where you're going to specify on unrecognized like prompt. So let's say if we're expecting a zip code and the user is entering something that